Okay, reinforcements came in. Wow, I'm out of power. Germans got an airplane, and they don't have their gun. 2 new divisions and a garrison unit. Brits got 1 division, not a terribly potent one. I know some of the German divisions coming in at some point are going to be the eastern units. I suspect those are more the 4-4s, which we just got a couple of here, but I don't know the specifics. We have 221 and 218. No idea. All right, let me check, change batteries, and try to decide. Oh, we got a weather die roll. I was going to try to decide what to do with the English. Weather die roll gives us overcast weather again this turn, so that may cause some problems. It does mean that neither side can use its planes to interdict. Okay, so having been told, and I think I said this in the last video, but maybe it was the beginning of this one, I don't really know these things. This is dead, I think. Jeez. That means there would be no D on here, and that seems to be the case. That there is an errata. I went and looked at, one of the rules said, hey, it's got all the errata highlighted. And then somebody commented on that on BGG, hey, the highlighting doesn't work. Supposedly some sort of mouse over or something. So Ranella went in and copied down the errata pieces, and most of them are clarifications. There are a few key ones. I'm going to hit the ones that I found important enough to actually mark up my rulebook with. Now, I probably would be a little bit more willing to mark up my rulebook if I could use a pencil, but I got to use a scripto for this, which means they're there forever. They're now the official rules. The Brits can enter non-operational sectors in those first 2 turns. If they don't have a divisional operational section in them, they can plow through, so they could continue going through. That felt a little weird, but it has a significant effect on the game, and I think it gives them a shot at a first turn victory. Well, no, but a second turn victory, because their cav can't get up there far enough on the first turn. But it does put the Germans potentially in a position where the Brits could easily be here. The next one that I marked down are over here? No. Yeah, the British control is Area 6. Okay, well, I'm going to have trouble getting that, and I don't think there was anything I could do that would make that terribly easier, although I might have gone for it on the first turn. But we made all kinds of little mistakes. The other one is here, tank fright. So I was doing this, and this is a huge bonus for the British. They were getting +2 on the die rolls because this extra historical option, well, it's not cumulative with the tank assaults roll up here. And there was one other that kind of stuck in my head, and they went over the Canal du Nord. They didn't talk about the missing bridge counter. I've decided to clear the busted bridges off the board and just leave the active ones. I can hardly see this, so there goes the view as we see if we can get the zoom to unlock. But anyway, you know, with them off the map, they're not noticeable. So I think actually the broken bridges were confusing me more than taking them off the board. The U.S. unit, I don't know where it is. It's like a singular, well, here it is considered a garrison, and it can stack for free with the British units. All right, and I'll try to figure out what the hell to do with the British. My gut tells me swing this way or this way, trying to get this right flank, because the defenses are too heavy here on the British left, at least. Although I'm a lot closer there, so if I get a breakthrough here, the Germans could conceivably defend their victory point spaces, which I think are B, C, D, and E. That's probably not on the overall sudden death. No, just B, C, and D. So E isn't even available. And that E is real close. If I could bust through this, I'm getting, well, D's not that much further. So I could put some real pressure on the German position. But there are more and more Germans coming in. This was a big turn for them. November 27th is going to be huge. Anyway, I've been really dragging my feet on this game. I'm not sure why. I don't think it's not the game. It really isn't. It's, I think, what I promised to do afterwards, and I'm committed to it. But it really is kind of putting a damper for a couple of reasons. One is that I'm clipping lots of counters, but there are other factors that are just kind of like getting in the way, and I'm doing other things, going out, sitting by the pool for an hour or whatever, instead of playing just other stuff. I think if I'm not videoing as much, I can get more play done. I just did a quick, hey, the Brits marched into here, boom, didn't get an overrun, and then the Germans pulled out. Does that make sense? Do I want to do the withdrawal? I might be better off triggering this space. One, I don't know. How much danger am I in here? One, two, three. I don't have 5 movement points. And I didn't save myself a rolling barrage this time. Hey, what are these? Is this really the new shit that I just got? I thought it was all 4s. Well, apparently not. Oh, jeez, I don't know. You know, I was making my mind up quickly. Now I'm on camera, and I can't decide a damn thing. Let me get off. I don't know. Let me get out of there. That's what I wanted to do. It doesn't lengthen my line. It closes me closer to here, and it gives me some time to make the decision. Brits reposition forces here into Crevecoeur Le Scal. I don't know. That gave me the 2-division force, a big pile of artillery, got me a breakthrough this time. I didn't use the breakthrough to try to punch against these guys. These guys were just put into place by the Germans to cover that, because I saw, wow, they really swung their force. This was the force from here into play. So the Germans covered this, then the Brits marched through, got their breakthrough, and hit here without having to do an assault. So now they're threatening Area D. I'm not sure I can take it, but if I can launch myself so I'm getting closer and closer to it, I force the Germans more and more on the rocks. And, you know, every time I hit the Germans, I'm killing some of their units. So that helps me to reduce how much they have in my way. So I'm still kind of hoping to get some cav into play. I do have some risks with the Hague roll, though. I'm sitting here at +4, which means a little better than 50-50, but still not terribly good, and I'm only willing to do that because I'm still holding the advantage. If I didn't have that advantage, I could not risk that. I would have to go for an all-out, and it would be against here. I'm going to go with the errata now that it's in place. Although I would like to know, the rationale, because I know that Boulogne was important, but I know it may have been the wood and the hilly area around that was considered. Is that hill or is that just roadways there? I don't know. It looks like there's some hill too, the way those roads are built. Anyway, we've just kind of swung the whole focus of the attack in this direction because we're across the river. We're able to channel tanks into play. It's had a bunch of choices. One was to hit here, open things up, get them closer and closer. Another was to hit both of these areas, which looked pretty damn risky. On the other hand, I only have a limited amount of artillery and I'm expending it all on this impulse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an assault with one of these units that covers against this possibility, because I couldn't use... Any units I use on this assault aren't going to get to break through, but other units in the area can move out of the area. It's the way an attack in an area can work. So we're going to open up with an assault here at 3, 4, 5 to 2. That gives us +3. And that's a 7. I think this is a garrison that I left behind. So I didn't really kill anything of any value. One of these guys gets damaged. Now, these guys were moving in. I can do that because of the rolling barrage. They pay 2 here and 2 here. That's 4. They only have 4 movement points because of the weather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 3, 4, 5. I'm basically at +4. I could have gone just at +2. That might have been just as good for me. And keep a couple of artillery pieces. The way I had it counted, I was like, I want one. I was left with 1 extra artillery piece, so I just threw it in. So this is +4, 8. That means I do 6 hits. 3, 4, 5 kills these. And this is the other thing. Killing things is so good that it is kind of worth doing an overwhelming attack, because you're more likely to kill the enemy that way. And we have another unit damaged, and the Brits are really kind of wearing down here. But we got 2 victory points off that. And the victory points are correct now. They're like 27. Which means if the Brits just kind of hunkered down and can hold this ground, that would be great. But that isn't going to be the case, because the Germans do get significant capability for a counterattack. Not just these extra forces. They have a higher replacement rate now and forever, but it goes up. And they get better gunpowder replacement, including the hurricane barrage, which they can, blow up units that are in key positions. So that's going to put us over to another German turn. And the Germans really kind of have to just do this. Yep, get a roll. We were on 6. 8 means we're fine. Okay. Only after the Brits managed to capture this space, a free space, the Germans go back. They didn't have anything they really wanted to do. Back to the Brits, and they moved Cav up here, saying, okay, you're going to let me come close? I'm going to go for the breakthrough. They're not really that close, but at least it's within striking distance now, and it provides some defensive benefit, I guess. I hope I moved legitimately. I think I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be 7 to get to here if I did it wrong. I counted 6, but oh well. Anyway, the turn ended over here on 10, so we'll go through the end of turn stuff, and you kind of saw me go through that before. I'm not going to worry too much about it. The agonizing decision, though, is how much artillery I can buy on any given time. And this game is fun when you're not agonizing over every decision in front of you're using the camera. It really is. So I swept through the end of turn stuff. Brits went 50-50 on their tanks. 1 got damaged, 1 got recovered without problems. Recovered an infantry over here by using one of my cav. I forgot to recover a German infantry. Oh, they haven't lost any. The Brits hunted them all down. What a shame. And ammo. Well, Brits are getting only 1 die now, but we're close, and we got to do it now or never is how I see it. So we bought a pile of ammo. We bought everything we have. I think it's like 10 of them. The Germans spent 7 or 8, I think, and the reason for that is I'm looking at, it's very likely I'll get knocked back and have to do a counterattack. And I should have some decent stacks. I have another division coming in here at F or G. No, I wonder what happens. I don't own that shit. I'm sure it's covered. I vaguely remember seeing something about it. Oh, nope, I just can't enter. I can't enter unless I clear that. So that's a big deal that the Brits took this, because they took the zone that those troops come in from, and they're going to prevent that division from coming into play, I think, until such a time as it's, until a dawn phase where they can actually come in. Presumably there's fighting happening to the flanks of this front to maintain some stability to it. So there just aren't available forces to cover, to cut through and make their way into this sector anymore. So the Brits have done a good job with their outflank over there. I wasn't counting on that. We got any other big surprises? We got more F and G over here, F and G over here. If the Germans can't retake one of these, they're out of the game. And I didn't really spend time agonizing over all these stupid decisions. I didn't spend time kind of zoning out on the reinforcement charts and seeing if there was anything there. But hey, learning game, right? And like I said, I'm enjoying it a hell of a lot more now that I just kind of played through a turn like that, rather than trying to get everything right or everything. This is how war games are meant to be played. Just kind of sit back and enjoy them. As we roll into the 24th, the dawn stuff, the weather is better. That means the airplanes are available. Both sides have them. We might be using them for interdiction. The problem is both sides look like they're ready for some sort of offensive. But the Germans may have some place they want to drop a plane. I don't think the interdiction rules allow them to use that against... No, I was incorrect. Containing at least one enemy unit. Oh, it's not tagged to a specific unit. All units in that zone will be reduced, I think. Movement points have. This looks pretty important in terms of, is there a place that I can hit that I want to slow down the advance? German reinforcements did not come in. The Brits got a few. The Germans did get another hurricane barrage, and that puts them and the Brits both sitting with one. I was actually, well, I think I may need a counterattack, but I don't know how I'm going to get the forces for it. Someplace like this I might be able to launch a couple of units out of or something, but we're not sure. We wasted a lot of ammo if we don't use it. I think I want to tag some of these units that may break through with one. So I'm going to drop this here as an interdiction. The Brits have no interest in interdicting. They're going to be using their plane. They intend to attack a little bit first. The advantage of the weird thing about the interdiction is you have to set that up at the beginning of your day, which is the time when you might be setting up for an offensive, but you probably want to take your offensives if you're set up for them already. Oh, do I have any weakened units? See, I could set these guys up over here in area L instead, and they'd be closer to the action. I move them there by sucking these guys over into the reserve. Alternatively, I could try to pick off one tired unit and put reserves in there, but then I get the divisional mishmash, and I don't want that to happen, where there's a penalty for having multiple divisions in a space. I can get here, right? 1, 2, 3, or here, which is just as good, 4, 5. It's not just as good. There is an advantage to here. And crossing the canals is going to be hard without the bridges. I'm just really debating, do I want to launch like a massive assault over into this sector and then, put threats on both fronts? But this area still looks so weak in the German side that I think that's where I want to launch my attack from. And then for the Brits, as to air interdiction, this is what I'm saying, or what I was trying to get out before I got myself lost on a train of thought that wasn't the one I intended. They have to make a decision of, do I want to shift any forces before I make the initial assault? And you can probably count on one shift. So, do I have an armor kicking around? I have an armor down here that I could spearhead an attack with, which I don't know how much value there is to getting that armor up to the front, because it's not a very big unit, so it wouldn't really increment my strength by much. I really am almost out of armor back here. I could launch an attack down this way. And that's going to make it hard for me to get the breakthrough result I want. Armor's your diminishing an important resource. So there might, basically what I keep trying to spit out is there might be a time when you want to place that interdiction because you're not going to be making an assault in the first action of the that you're going to get. So for example, if I needed this armor somewhere, if I wanted to throw, hold on for a second, Beth was on her way quickly back to Europe and I had to give her a kiss goodbye and then argue about whether or not she could take any keys with her. Okay, so anyway, the thing is, you have to know in advance that you don't want to make an assault before you apply this to interdiction. And I'm not sure of that answer. And here I am on video once again trying to make decisions. So I'll probably just come back and tell you what the turn did afterwards. But whenever I try to make decisions in this game on video, I feel like, I'm playing a fucking Euro in terms of, oh, I could do this or I could do that. There's no point to it. There's a story here. I shouldn't be going into this. Anyway. But it is interesting that there is that decision, and that's what I wanted to highlight. If I could only get it out, the reason that it's a tough decision is you probably don't want to do your repositioning early, because those early phases are the guaranteed ones that you actually get. So if you have any assaults you want to make, you may not want to set them up to be perfect early in your turn. That's the job of the late turn, in my opinion. Which means the Brits in this case, who may have a couple assaults they want to make, are keeping their air support available. Now, they can't use it later for this. They can only use it for ground support after the first part of the day. So the Germans putting this down as an interdiction here is saying, we don't need an assault right away. And that's because they're planning on using their assault as a counterattack to try to protect the breakthrough areas. And I have absolutely no battery juice, so I probably will not, neither of my batteries charged, so I probably won't be playing too much this morning. Too much detail here, I know, but I think I'm going to activate this space anyway. Problem with it, of course, is I can't use my hurricane barrage over here. It's too far away, if I'm correct about that. I think I have to use it. Yeah, the same 2 areas away. Oh, I cheated with the rolling barrage and direct support. They have to be 1 space away. I had felt pretty weird about putting them 2 spaces away. that's had some effect on the game. Anyway, the hurricane barrage, I would love to trigger that because I'd like to hit this space with all its many pieces and then assault it. I don't really have the forces to assault it. I would be moving something like this up or something, and I don't have, oh, I'm out of battery. I would like to, you know, be able to bombard a place I may want to go to and see how that works out, but continue with the advance that I had planned, but I can hold off on it. Basically, I don't want to have to choose, oh yeah, I'm going to make this assault now along with the bombardment. I would rather weaken the German position and then make the decision later that I'm going to make the assault. Now, of course, I could go in different directions if I don't like the bombardment result, but the way the areas are aligned in this game, in terms of positioning, it's almost always the case that you don't shorten your line or get any real advantage by taking a space. That's very odd for me in an area control game. Area control games, there's almost always this, oh yeah, that space is really key. In this, it feels like none of them have any kind of special significance, and I think that's a well-designed area map. To leave you with that position where it's not like, oh yeah, I need the Ukraine, you know. Yes, the areas are designed to make the tactical simulation accurate rather than to fit certain preconceived areas. So there are no bottlenecks. So what I'm going to do here, and why I wanted to come back, is I'm going to be launching attacks here, but I'm going to reposition the armor up here because I believe this space is my next likely attack. Because of that, got to move forward one, got to move forward one. I got to make sure that I'm not leaving any empty holes. Of course, here I'm going to be leaving a defensive unit anyway, but that's okay. Nothing can be helped with that. Alternatively, I could move my armor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Use a rolling barrage to reposition it into here more cheaply. I don't think I want to waste a rolling barrage on that. I want to punch through as hard as I can. My cav, if I can get as far as here, which I don't think is going to happen. Anyway. Now I'm going to do my calculations, see what this attack's going to be like, but it's just an assault, so it can only go one space. Okay. I actually have a third hit to allocate that I'm not sure what to do with. I think I'll throw it back there. The Allied assault was not completely successful, but it was sort of successful enough to provide cover so that I can launch an attack this way now. I think, at least with this unit covering it, it's going to be really difficult for the Germans to launch an attack that way. The Germans are going to call their air support back because with an empty area, it doesn't serve much purpose. And with the German turn coming up, maybe they want it. Okay, and in the next phase, the Germans use one of their rolling barrages to help move a couple of units out of here over to defend what looks like the weakest point in their line right now. Now, one thing to clarify, this game is over. The cheating errors, however you want to call it, that represented these to fall. I don't think the British can lose the game. I don't think there's enough German troops coming in to launch a real offensive again. We're looking at some stuff here at A and B, and then D or E, and that's it. All these forces here are all from here. That shows a real weak point in the German position that you have to protect that I wasn't aware of. And even if the Brits don't get their breakthrough, they can probably settle down and get their 20 points. But we got there by cheating, right? Anyway, the Germans strengthened their position there. The Brits slid the infantry from back here up into here. Now the Germans get another reaction. There's not a whole hell of a lot they can do. They can't really weaken this, They might be able to pull a couple of units out of here and say the hell with it. Well, one thing could end it. It's the Hague sudden end, which I'm not sure what happens. A final victory check is made. The Brits win if Hague gives up. So I don't particularly want the offensive to continue because I can win. The final victory check is, I may not be able to win as impressive a victory, but the final victory check would be done in 15.1, somewhere. Where? 15.1 is the advantages. That's not it. Let's see. If the British have 20 more at the end of 26, well, we're not playing that. We're playing this, which has different victory conditions. It's the campaign. If they have less than 15, they lose. If they have 21 or more, they win. So we're above 21. So we're fine calling it here. Of course, Hague, as the Brits, you would rather get the breakthrough. I think anything other than that is just a matter of slight degree. But the Hindenburg line is completely collapsed if you can get back here. So I'm going to continue playing with that goal in mind. But I'm also going to play with the, if I fail a Hague roll, I got the advantage. I may not pass on it. I may not take it. I may just accept the results of, we went quite far. Kind of thinking is leading to some rather weird situations. So play-wise, this strong point, the Germans might be perfectly willing to give it up. Maybe that's not a great idea. But they already hold these, they already have to defend both of these. This is horrible to give up from a tactical perspective. It's horrible to give up from a strategic perspective, because it's what's holding the British. It's part of what's holding the British breakthrough from happening, or not necessarily on this tactical level, but the offensive might continue if the Brits can get that. And the idea that, like, well, if I clear this out, if I don't have to defend this anymore, key location that it is, if I just don't have to worry about it, I have more units that are available to defend other important areas, because the Brits don't dare go in there, or if they do, they give up their chance of that kind of early Hague victory. On the other hand, the Germans don't really care if the Brits get it, because if they do, that will guarantee that Hague won't call things off in this already assured victory situation. Now, this is where, you come into that victory conditions versus the reality of the situation. Are you going to worry about trying to win the game or trying to play it as it would be historically dealt with? I think that the Hague end thing possibly can be misused by the Brits. Obviously, they're going to have to get a heavy storming position into place. But from what I can see of the game, it doesn't look that hard to necessarily inch your way over that 20 victory points. And then, if you can do that in this early stage in the game and then fail a Hague roll while you have initiative still, while you have the advantage still, you can say, screw you guys, man, I'm going home. The victory conditions represent probably a, hey, the Brits do better than they historically did, but ending the campaign early to get that victory condition doesn't strike me as a fair simulation value of the thinking that was going on. Hague might well have called it off, and called it a victory for that matter. But I almost feel like if the Hague roll fails and you get a victory from that, then it's not really a victory at all. that if you haven't ensured that you can, hit as hard as you can, you should be limited to no better than a draw from it. I certainly think that a draw is reasonable because the Brits would have time then to consolidate their position that they, maybe didn't when they were caught with their pants down in the middle of an assault and got pushed back a little bit. So, we head further. The Germans pulled out of Borean Wood, but they still are leaving something of a defense. Again, I'm not trying to game my way out of this when I do have concerns that you can. The Brits pumped a tank up here. This is almost telegraphing an attack against this space. There's not a hell of a lot I can do about it. I can hope. I don't have a counterattack in that area that I can even devote. I was considering launching a major counterattack here, break the British line here. But I may need that counterattack over here somewhere. So I think I'm going to actually pass with the Germans. Breakthrough is just Brits being present, isn't it? Yeah, it's just present. I might be able to throw them back out using artillery and everything. There's a pretty hefty force here, though. I don't know how much I can really hurt that force, even. If I use my hurricane barrage, I get a 9 on the attack value versus a +3 defense. I can use it here. Let's do that. So this is the same 9 on a +2 defense, because as long as there's 3 or more units, I'm good. So we'll do that, and that's going to be, I believe it's a single die. So I'm at +7. I'll at least hit up that force. +7. That gets me 4 hits on the Brits back there. It's going to be either 2 infantry or a tank and an infantry. The tank's got a chance of recovering, so we'll take that instead. And that, I don't think we want to go in. Let me think. No, we can't abandon this space to try to gain that. We'd love to get back in here, because that would gain us so much. But yeah, so we activated, I don't know, doesn't really matter what, because we're not going to be able to attack, and launched the hurricane barrage, which pretty much stymies any attack here, and that hands the activation back to the Brits. Now, I do want to do some sort of assault with this big pile of artillery. I just don't know where it's going to be. It might be very good here. If I was attacking, I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. +6 is a dozen. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14. I'm outnumbered attacking there. So even though it looks like I have, some power there, I don't have enough to push that aside. But I may after the Brits take an action. But if I'm keeping that artillery as a reserve, to do some sort of pushback after an assault by the Brits, I may not get to use it. Of course, maybe the Brits won't get to use theirs either if they don't make that assault. Where I may have found another mistake, certainly something I wasn't paying attention to until I saw this and thought, well, I shouldn't be able to overrun that. My worry was, can I overrun the Hindenburg line? Yeah, I can, but I can't overrun triangles, and I may have done so to one of these two. Not positive. I don't see anywhere else where it's likely to have happened. But yeah, it's kind of weird because these look like they're mainly clear areas where you could leave a small force to conduct a siege of the woods itself. This is a larger one. This, though, looks like a serious impediment, so I'm not going to be able to just plow through that. I'm looking for a British, means of advancing still. And I would like to not fail the Hague roll, not because of victory conditions for the game, which I think are flawed in that element, at least early in the war, in the game. It's funny because if the Germans can't if the Germans come back with a massive counterattack, they got to make sure to keep the Hague roll from happening. Obviously, we're in a particularly special circumstance here because of the British advances, but I could see, again, if the British push close to, so that they're at like 22 or something midway through, the Germans have to make sure that they don't get Hague to call it in, because their counteroffensive may just stop for no apparent reason and not be able to be effective. Now in this game, with the German reinforcements not coming in, it looks like, I don't see a massive counter offensive coming into play. But I'm having a really hard time finding a place where the Brits have a fair chance of punching further inward. An assault here would clear this and open up the possibility of an assault here, which might be my best move. I can't just leave this, can I? Let me see. I think movement stops in a contested area, so maybe I can. There's no mandatory assault required. Looking at movement, and yeah, again, because it's because it's such a different kind of game, from your standard hex and counter game. Whenever you start adding areas or point to point or something, the game just increases in complexity, not in terms of the overall complexity, but in terms of it's going to have special ways of handling everything. Some area games tend to be very simple. This is clearly not going to be one where there's just simple rules like move forward one space. It's got an issue here that makes it difficult. Okay, so it looks like units may exit an area contested at the start of the next impulse at normal movement point as long as the next area entered is free. So I think it stops. Here. If an area is occupied by enemy unit, it must stop. But there's the overrun possibility if there's an assault, which isn't very clearly expressed there. But it does mean that these guys are guarding this flank, so I could just launch an attack into here. Is that good? 4, 5, 6, 10. That's a lot of power there. But this isn't that much better. 4, 5, 6, 7. Much weaker in some ways, but I don't have a lot that I can throw against that to move forward. And here I could conceivably get a breakthrough. And then what? Plow into here. I think I have to be able to trace a line back for the breakthrough. Yep. Which means I can't just, charge through and leave my units back there. I'd have to be able to get further in. Now, that line has to be friendly controlled areas, so I would have to take this if I was afraid of losing this. Oh boy. Well, the Brits used the rest of their firepower. Yeah, they're out now. To get into Cambrai itself, and then the turn ends. Germans don't get a chance to react to that, but no breakthrough here. Nothing I can do. So, and no, I'm using breakthrough in the non-game specific fashion. Germans may want to blow this. I don't know. I'm just not sure I feel like the bridge causes more difficulty to the Brits than it does to the Germans. Let's blow that bridge. I could have done that at any point in a long time, but I always forget about the possibility. So I've got a free area as +3. Contested friendly control, that puts it to +5. And we didn't succeed. So maybe I'll remember at some other point to blow that bridge. And we'll go through the end of turn kind of procedure. I knew it would happen. I think I moved my victory points down instead of my ammo points. I got no idea what I got. I was buying myself a pile of 6 or 7 of these suckers. I count the victory points. They're not what's listed here, and I've been trying to keep track of them better. And it doesn't make sense if I add like the 6 or 7 that I was looking at. That wouldn't be the right number either, I don't believe. So I got no idea, because I think I moved like the 1's number of the victory points and the 10's of the ammo, but I'm not sure. Oh, I would have added, so I added 6. Yeah, but I'm not at 20 victory points. I have no idea where those numbers are. And again, 2 things on the same track that look too similar. Real easy, right? I mean, they don't look all that similar, but they're the same kind of coloration and everything, and it's just real easy to fuck up. I got no idea where I should be with those. I'm gonna have to guesstimate. I made rolls on the barrages. Yeah, the Germans lost their pile of artillery that they had available. The British lost one of their Hurricane barrages, which I should have used here. But yeah, this is kind of an infuriating game in terms of trying to remember all the pieces that go together for it. Much, much more difficult to remember to do the things you need to do than in a more traditional design. Mainly because you're not used to the design, right? If you were really used to the area impulse games, or at least to this particular one, I don't know, you know, the sequence may be different in some of them, you would probably be more used to not making this mistake or whatever. But it's not easy to cope with the physical layout of the information necessarily, as well as with the different rules that the area system kind of forces on you. Because in order to get a good simulation value out of something that's simpler in terms of the design, that's a great idea, but the problem is you have to kind of forge your new way each time to represent things in a way that makes sense, whereas the hex grid usually gives you this expectation of what you're going to see. So yeah, if I play this 3 or 4 times, I'll probably get through without much difficulty after that. Hard to pick up though, even though it is an interesting looking game. As we push into the 25th, both sides bought a healthy pile of artillery. The British spent almost all of theirs, and I did manage to reconstruct what I think the points should be. Looks like I did what I thought I did, what I claimed I did, and generated the proper number of ammo points, because I think I was down at 0 or close to it, close to it, because I bought all my ammo markers last turn. Well, this turn I bought less of them. I'm leaving myself a few backup, 3 backup ones. I don't know if I really need them, because we're not getting many for the rest of the game. The ammo table kind of limits us to a die roll for the rest of the game. But I'm kind of trying to live within my means, gain a space. I've got a couple of places where I have attacks. The Germans also bought a pile because they've got some reinforcements coming and may be able to drive the Brits back a little bit. If I can get into one of these areas, boom, the whole the whole German reinforcement set comes into play. The Brits did not use any cav this time, primarily because they've got this stack of cav here. I can't afford to weaken that by destroying more of my cav, and my other cav, a unit here and a unit here, comprise my threat to actually get a breakthrough. If I'm not going to get a breakthrough, nothing, there's no point in continuing, because I think the Brits can hold on to this line against not the full German reinforcement set, but I don't think that they can, I don't know what I was going to say. Therefore, they're going to get their 21 victory points or whatever at the end of the game. I really don't think the Germans have enough power. But the hard thing is, artillery is really the way to gain ground. It's World War I after all. So I don't know, because we start getting the improved hurricane barrages too. Not that we'll necessarily remember to use them. So I'm a little disturbed, whatever it was I was talking about. Yeah, the discarding of the artillery. Where does it go? I planned for all this artillery fire to be happening in this sector. It never actually got allocated, and then it disappears. From a, hey, you've got to pre-plan and you've got to do well type of thing, it may make for a more interesting game, or just a more frustrating one, depending on your taste in such matters. But in terms of, what has happened with that artillery, it could be that you're not using the artillery, though, caused High Command to say, you know what, we're going to conserve, we're going to allocate more artillery to other sectors. That's the only way I can really justify that. There are a couple of little quirky things in this that really kind of don't ring true. This one is not as bad as, say, the Hague roll and its effect on the victory conditions. The Germans, like I said, improved one unit, and then we'll go into the start of turn functionality. Brits launch another assault into here. Oh, I gotta make a bridge roll. The Germans want to try to blow that. They're gonna get two shots at blowing up, once during the British impulse, after the British impulse, once after their own. So they're looking at, I think, 4 for that, or +4. We get rid of that bridge. If we don't control those areas, it's not really in our interest for that bridge to exist. And we don't have tanks, so it's of less value. So the British went in here. They used a tank assault, even though they're not going to get a breakthrough, just because they needed the strength of the tank. And then there's an interesting situation, because the Brits had a location where they could advance without exposing any flanks because of the advance here or whatever. And now they've got another one open, so the Germans moved their infantry reinforcements up into here so that they can hope to drop a bombardment, the hurricane bombardment there, and forestall an attack there. But how likely they are to actually, the attack either happens now or it doesn't happen, I think. And now there's a lot of strength there, so that attack seems less valuable. This tank here that I threw into this assault, I would have loved to get it over here, but it would have taken forever to shift it around with all the bridges missing. Brits are going to go all out aiming for a breakthrough. I threw all my remaining artillery into here to get me enough movement to get a breakthrough. I don't have a lot of units to throw in. I probably should have recharged this with a cav. But I was hoping to get, some more force up the center. But at this point, I think we just roll in here with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we can't do this. 4, 5, 6, 7. That's an even. We have no planes because it's overcast. But it's a shot at winning. All right, in we go. I think this is stupid, but... Oh, no, but first, I wanted to drop... I flipped this over. I wanted to drop the hurricane barrage in. So the hurricane barrage opens up. Actually, I can do that before I make the decision on these. I'm not getting the +2 bonus for the crowding. Okay, so let's see. And we'll probably swing through here in order to get the additional victory point hex, or space. So base is 7 for us. Base is only 1 for the Germans. So we're at +6. That's pretty good. 8. We only get 4 hits on them, which is not going to change their strength, but it changes their capability to last there. So we'll go in with everything. And this comes in 1, 2. We don't want the infantry to make the big ride through. We want that to go straight forward. The reason being, and we have the rolling barrage, if we get an exploit, whatever it is, it's not a breakthrough, I don't remember what it is, overrun, then the infantry can keep moving because I've only used 2 of my movement points because of the rolling barrage. Unfortunately, this is going to cost 4. Yeah, this was stupid. Screw the rolling barrage then. All right, so we have 2. We have to use this if we want an exploit. Well, we don't. Maybe we don't need an exploit. So we'll send 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in versus 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're at +2. That sounds like it's all we have. And yes, the tank is going to be flipped over no matter what. +2, 8. We get 5 more hits. That's 2, 3, and we'll retreat and give them the space. We can't afford it. We'll kill a unit. The reason we can't afford to give them the space is the Cav can ride presumably through there on an assault. Well, not immediately, but if this is empty, the Cav can just ride right through. I have no armor, so the Cav's not going to make it through the space. And this was the lead unit, so it gets disrupted or whatever. And this was the armor, which I used, which also gets it. However, I have blown my artillery wad. Now, I can still launch attacks in places without the artillery because the Germans are kind of weak. Make a roll to see if the weather gets better. Need a 2. And we go to the German side. Beauty of the prior German move, by putting everything here, now I can throw a hurricane barrage within 2 of that area. Well, that's here. And then I'm going to be able to move one of the divisions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if I use a hurricane barrage, a rolling barrage there. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2. No, these are face-up units. They cost 4 to go into. Yeah, so I got to use a rolling barrage to get anywhere useful. I could launch an attack here, but this isn't good terrain. You know, even the Brits, who they're lodged in there and they get the terrain advantage. So I don't need to use the, I don't need to get there yet. I'm not in that position quite yet, so I may hold off on my artillery fire. Okay, so, but this one I need, and that's going to be a 9. Oh, you know what I forgot with that artillery? There's a weather penalty, which would have affected the Germans here. That 2 points, since it didn't affect the defenses, we're going to bring a unit back. That was a unit that didn't have to leave, because that was 2 extra points that was taken prior to the actual attack. Okay, so now we do our attack, which is at 7 to 2, which gives us a +5. I hope there's not terrain or something there. We're a total of +6. Well, for the Brits, the problem is I'm not supposed to be on the defensive. So taking hits might not be the best of things. Do I want to lose a division? Do I want to lose armor? What do I want to take as my losses? That's the difficult question here, and I don't know. But it's going to weaken this stack tremendously. So the net effect This is largely beaten up. I took a tank as a full loss. Other units. Oh. Yeah. Tanks don't make a difference. Okay. For artillery fire, the tanks make a difference. And that's what we took. So wait, we exhausted a tank for 3. And then we eliminated it for 6. I get to keep everything else. So I just took all my losses on the 1 weak tank. That's kind of cool. Okay, then the Germans, so I'm actually not all that much weaker. I'm about as strong as I was and could plow forward. And maybe want to, because I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's an even roll. I don't really like that idea. I'm not going to get an overrun, and I'm going to blow my tanks doing that, so I'm better off holding off. The Germans shifted their infantry over here. Now it's time to go for it. The Brits are going to launch an assault into here. These guys do not count. So we're coming in with 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1, 2, 3. We're at +3. If we succeed here, unless we blow the Germans out of here, we're in a very, if we blow the Germans out of there, we're able to move forward and be in really a winning position where the Germans are going to have to use their assault to clear one of the breakthrough hexes to get the cap out of there. Okay, so what did I say? I said 6 to 3 +3 for the Brits. Let's see, 7. That's 4 hits. That's going to wipe this out. And we get another space. And another victory point. Now we're rolling against a 4 for the weather and such not. Woohoo! It's clear weather. The planes are active again. Those aren't the planes. The planes are over here. Hey. I wish they could have, there's room for little boxes running here, but not enough margin to look the same as everywhere else. I would have rather had all the German stuff in one place and all the British stuff in another. Say, move the British plane up here, move the German air support over here. That would just make me happier in terms of layout. As it is, I'm looking all over the place. You also have kind of this weirdness, but that might be unable to be fixed, of the Germans kind of being centered over there to sit, and the Brits over here to access their counters, whereas the British assault is mainly heading this way, and the German defense is mainly across there. Yeah, minor things, but certainly it seems really weird to have gone out of your way to set up the boxes so that they split up and kind of near other person's boxes and confusing as hell, and end up with the two sides not really being directly across from each other. Just weird. Okay. So that was the British turn. If we'd rolled a 2 or a 3, the turn would have ended. But now we're on a German turn. Now I gotta think, are there bridges I want to blow? Do I want to blow this thing? Yeah. No. Who cares? That's the real thing. Who cares? Yeah, we're gonna take a shot at blowing it. I think it's 5, which means anything but a 1. It's gone. No more bridges. Stupid tanks are too mobile. More crapola. I've screwed up something else huge. Actually, this one may actually improve the game from my point of view, because I like a little bit more randomness. But combat, it's 2 dice for each side. And if you had somebody who's watching it who really knows the game well, and he says he's played it about 8 times, which is, makes sense. I mean, that is definitely above the threshold that I'm looking at for it. But yeah, so that means that the sunset die roll will often happen, not just when the Brits are rolling their barrage. And I had this vague sense that something was wrong there, because I remember when I read the rules thinking, wow, if the British don't do anything, they have to roll the sunset die roll, but otherwise chances are it's taken care of during their turn, and that is indeed the case. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble with this one. I don't know if it's just my emotional state or something else. I do see some minor issues in the rules, but man, I am really screwing the pooch on this one. Sometimes I don't even know why I bother. Another thing that just came to mind is I've been throwing these big stacks of artillery, and you can only use one artillery per, I don't know what it is, infantry or unit that you have in here. There's just so many little things in this, and they all make sense, and they all fit together to make it a better simulation. There's no question there. And it's not like they're, presented in a way that makes them impossible to remember or to read or whatever or understand. It's just, it's all so much little different stuff, all new. Everything in the system's new. So, I do things that I'm playing kind of here's the game coming along with me just doing what seems reasonable and doing natural things, and then every now and then I either think something doesn't seem quite right and I look it up and yeah, I'm screwing it up, or somebody says you're screwing it up, or in this case just a random thought comes along. So yeah, I mean, the gaining of territory is a lot harder than I've been seeing it happen, because I've been throwing in probably about twice as much artillery as I'm allowed to in most of the battles. The reason I was thinking about this was, I'll throw my Germans in here, this is my attack, well, and I'll use all my artillery, boom, okay, and my air power, which I can add to it, but what I'm going to be actually looking at is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 maximum. And the defense is 4. Oh, these guys don't count, and I've been counting them even though I caught myself doing it before. It's just... yeah. That's all I have to say. So, I mean, where the defender's weakened, like here, I've been completely misplaying that too, because this guy isn't a 4, 5, 6, 7. He's a 3, 6. Jeez. There's just so many unfamiliar little concepts in this that, like I said, I think I'd have to play this like 3 to 5 times in close succession for it to really gel, and where I'd get like, maybe 80% of the game right, instead of getting 80% wrong, which is what I feel like I'm doing. And I almost don't know why I'm even going on. I mean, should I continue this way, or should I continue with the real rules? If I continue the way I've been playing, I continue playing something that's just, somewhat bogus, not just in the sense of, well, I'm not playing by the rules, but I could dump as much artillery as I like into an attack historically, but there is a limit to how much effectiveness there is to an artillery barrage if it's not softening up enough of the front for the infantry to take advantage of all of it. However that works out, that's what I think is being meant to be represented here. But what was I looking at? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Well, let's go in. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need a rolling barrage. That means I'm actually only at even going in there. It's 8 to 8. But that might be enough for me to freeze the space. And let's hope I got the numbers right, because I don't feel like rethinking them. 8 to 8, 3. Okay, so I do 2 hits to the Allies. And I probably have too much artillery, because I bought it all with the thinking of how I had been playing, which is just I can pound in, as much as I need. So what was I saying? Looks like 2 hits on the Allies. Now, I'll take that. Jesus. I don't really want to take it on a tank. A tank might recover. I'll take it on this crappy infantry because I can't afford to lose the cav, and I don't want to lose my infantry power either. I rolled only one die for combat again. You know, I mean, you start getting used to playing things wrong. And, okay, there's a way certain people play games where they work through every little instance as they're going until they learn it all. And that probably works. That probably works in this kind of circumstance. I'm just not used to having to do that. I don't think I've ever had to do that with the traditional war games. Even my first couple, it was either I don't understand what's going on at all, or it all kind of flowed together pretty easily. But the problem here, of course, is, you know, that I've already kind of tainted that initial learning period by getting everything wrong. And I don't know why. I don't know if I can blame the game or not. On the other hand, the English remaining choices are pretty piss poor. The only place where I have a fair chance of an assault working is here. I have 3-4 to 2. That'll work, but then I flip over one of these units to destroy something that the Germans have that's essentially useless. Although the Germans have enough damaged units that they may not be able to recover their units very easily. Well, normally what we've been seeing is a German unit like this is getting wiped out. So it's not totally useless. So I'm going to go with this. I got 3-4 to 2. I'm at +2. And we're going to use 2 dice this time. It skews the both the range of the values, but also the curvature that they happen. So you get the bell curves now. And, well, we get 2 hits, which is enough to take another area and destroy. I didn't realize I was attacking something that was totally useless. But there's another victory point for the Brits. And 10 ends the turn. Onward, way through the recovery night phase thing. The British recovery points only happen down here in J and K. So I'm going to have to start swapping units out if I want to get anything. These poor suckers don't even get it. And the only way I can get the Brits there is with that replacement rule from units that come in at J and K. So these units that are coming in on the 27th could cause me some replacements. But I'm not going to be able to replace any of my damaged units that are on the board anywhere else. Still can't afford to denude this. I can't afford to destroy this. What's that? Oh, jeez. I'm gonna hold the vision together here. I don't know what he's doing in there, but I think it's really one. Is that the one I want? Do I want that division free or some other pieces? I got no idea. I can't think when I'm on the video with this game. It's really tough to consider. Anyway, I think we're done with all the refits here for the Brits. I can only really afford that one cav because I need this one if I'm going to win. The auto victory. They're going to win no matter what because they've destroyed the German reinforcements. So I shouldn't complain too much. And then for the Germans, where do they need to recover? Well, you know, I'm going to be able to bust my way through here with the Brits if I'm not careful with the Germans. But on the other hand, this is where the game is. So we'll replace this. But we now get a second replacement. So this is not worded how I remember things. One flips fresh each night phase. And another additional German, I assume, sometimes they word things so that the additional points don't sound like they're real, gets to flip as well. So I think we want these guys to do so as we get more power into our place. I already rolled the Hague roll. I do that first, so if I don't have to do the recovery, I don't have to. We have no auto victory, and now we're in bridge demolition, which has nothing to do with this, but I think that sets us to the 26th. And I think the British at this point would give up. You know, if the Hague roll fails, they would say, okay, I'll accept it, we win. Because it really is beginning to look like I'm just not going to be able to batter my way through with using the actual rules. But that just highlights how impossible this advance would be with the actual rules, what we're seeing here. And I'm toying with the idea of doing a replay. Oh, I bought this artillery, didn't I? No, I did not. Or maybe I did. Yeah, I spent all my artillery for the English. I forgot to roll for the Germans. Again, because the Germans don't take their actions at the same time as the British do, they take all their recovery after the British take theirs, I end up kind of screwing things up because I say, well, I can do this one like the barrages, even though they can't. Now we have 2 dice of artillery. That's 10 more German points. And they have tons and tons of artillery. I think I need to keep buying some. I guess I'll buy 7 artillery shots this time because I'm generating more than that. And make it 6. I wanna have more left. Now let's make it 7. We want to see if we can cut our way through. And then these are not victory points or something, I don't know. They're artillery points. And then we're set to go with another turn, and this one's loading up.